for all of us to come together, have a meal together, eat together as a family. But obviously there's very special things, right? We've heard Melanie and Derek really the mission behind, the drive behind the business and why they really started it. And all of you support that and want to be a part of it. So tonight, we want to introduce someone to that's very special to all of us. And I know Shalane is going to come up with him, and that is Chris Yaden. And Chris, will you come up here for a moment? And I want to get the title, if I'm almost going, right? And Shalane, would you mind as well, right? Because I think the two of you together, because I really believe you need to let the two of them take the floor, not me, because this is so their space, and I want them to be able to really, I get so privileged every time I get to just be in their presence and really hear about the foundation and so forth. But Shalane, Chris, I'm going to have you introduce yourselves and just really share a little bit more. We wanted to save this special just for tonight when we were together.
Thanks, Chris.
This is Chris. So, Chris says, I don't know what you know yet, but Chris is our first employee. He's, what's your title?
Executive Director.
I knew it was fancy.
The Younique Foundation.
And then we've hired Clinical Director Gordon Bruin. He's amazing. He's a great fit for us. And we're getting an office manager soon, so things are progressing. And it's staying exciting, and we're overcoming setbacks. And Chris can tell you more. I'll just pass it to him so there's less pressure on me.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Well, let me just share a few things about the foundation. Some things that I think you'll find interesting, and also talking about our purpose. Before I do, though, I'll just say a word. I've known Derek and Shalane for I think it's 12, 13 years now, somewhere in there. And you guys have come to know and appreciate them as the awesome people they are. One of my favorite things to tell people is the Derek and Shalane that you see and that you know as part of the Younique family is the same Derek and Shalane that is behind closed doors. I knew them before they were able to accomplish some of the great things that they've done. And the same people I met 12, 13 years ago are the same people I get to work with every day. And that says a lot about them. Because as we all know, sometimes success changes people, right? In a negative way. But they've let it do nothing but good. So it's a privilege for me to work with them again. I worked with them at NetSteps, and that's another story for another day. But it's a privilege to work with them again. Specifically, I get the blessing and opportunity to work with Shalane. And I know you come to love and appreciate Derek and Melanie as the face of the Younique opportunity and Younique corporate. And Shalane is our leader for the foundation, and she is every bit as amazing, every bit as accomplished. She will never say it, but she is skilled. I trust her. I trust her intuition. When she says, I feel we should do this, I say, I feel we should do this as well. That's how I feel about Shalane. So a little bit about the foundation. Let me share a little bit about our purpose. There's three things that we are working to accomplish that we consider our mission. The first is to provide an environment, a safe environment, where adult women who were sexually abused as children can come and either start or continue their healing process. And I'll talk a little bit more about that one in just a minute. The second one, also critical, is more on the prevention side, and that's to educate parents and caregivers about how they can reduce the risk of sexual abuse of their children. And then the third one is to make it more acceptable to discuss the topic of sexual abuse in the general public. So we want to be the advocate, the leader, in being the voice that makes it acceptable for the general public to discuss the prevalence of sexual abuse of children. A few statistics, because I know there's some of you that love statistics out there. The studies vary between 1 in 3 and 1 in 5 women are abused by age 18. The most common across government and other studies is 1 in 4. You consider the number of women in this room, and you consider that statistic, and I'm not saying that's the exact statistic of this room, but it is a relevant topic, and it's a relevant topic for all of us. When you consider that 90% of abuse was done by someone that the individual trusted, now you understand why we need to enable parents and caregivers to protect. It isn't stranger danger that we're dealing with sexual abuse. Sometimes that's what we hear about, because those are sometimes the most difficult cases or the most extreme cases, sometimes the most violent cases of sexual abuse. But 90% of sexual abuse happens either by a family member or someone the family trusts. So parents have a lot of control over providing an environment that reduces that risk. So with those statistics, you understand a little bit about why we're doing what we're doing. There's a cool metaphor that I think really highlights our mission. And the Japanese call it Kintsugi. And what that is when a piece of pottery is broken or cracked, their philosophy is to repair it with something beautiful. So if you saw this bowl would be an example of that. What they've taken is a crack in this bowl, and rather than throw the piece of pottery away, they fill it with gold to make it more beautiful. In fact, when you look at this, what stands out to you? It's that gold, right? And they celebrate the fact that the pottery has a history, and that history, though difficult, is of value. And we don't celebrate abuse, but we certainly value and celebrate the women who come out of the darkness of abuse and not only learn to survive, but eventually learn to thrive. And that's what we're about. I'll share a really brief poem that I think really highlights Kintsugi. It says, "Our lives do not go backward, nor tarries with yesterday, for every wrinkled line is a roadmap of this journey, and every scar a solemn decoration in its perception that writes timeless poetry upon flesh and mind with quill dipped in golden ink, creating art despite the breaking, for that is when the true beauty emerges." I think it's a wonderful description of a woman who has learned to overcome a horrific and tragedy in her life, and has learned to come out strong, learned to come out valued where she values herself and sees how others value her. I guess the last thing that I'll share is just a couple of soft announcements that you might find interesting. The first one is around our ability to solicit donations. So we can accept donations already, but there's certain licensing and things that we have to go through before we can reach out and start to solicit donations. So we haven't been very vocal, right? We know the minute we open that gate, it's going to be a flood. And not just from the presentership, but also from many individuals that are out there. So we're working diligently and expect to be able to solicit or announce that we can receive donations here in the next month and a half. The second announcement is around our first retreat for these women. And I believe Derek mentioned or gave you some days either today or yesterday. We're working in the 80s. I believe it's 89, 88, somewhere around there, days till we are able to have our first retreat and invite the first 8 or so women to experience the healing work that we're going to do. The third announcement is forgot the third announcement.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
How have you been chosen? Because I've had.
That's the third announcement.
Oh,
That's the third announcement.
I remember.
That's it.
Yes, actually. The third announcement is we will be ready to accept applications in the next month. Okay? So there's an application process followed by a registration process. So assuming we get flooded with applications, which we expect, there is some qualifications that they need to meet in order to come based on the population we are trying to serve. But assuming they meet those qualifications and we have more than we can handle, we're going to work hard to get more donations so we can handle them all. But in the meantime, there will be some method of random selection from those that are qualified.
Can you share what the qualifications are?
So, sure. So at a high level, an adult woman, so 18 or older, who was sexually abused as a child. Okay? And when I say child, that includes adolescents as well. So it could be a child or a teen. The definition of sexual abuse is quite broad, both clinically and the way we accept it. And it can include a lot of different things, everything from a touch incident to actually being exposed to by a perpetrator. There's lots of different types of sexual abuse of children. And the reality of it is whether my uncle exposed himself to me or fondled me, the impact's the same. So we don't differentiate in those aspects of sexual abuse. So they need to be sexually abused as a child or an adolescent. There are some preferred aspects of their life that aren't, we have to be careful not to discriminate against because they can be considered disabilities. I'll give you one example, addiction. It wouldn't be helpful with what we're doing to have someone in the middle of an addiction without any type of abstinence to come to the retreat. We won't allow, for example, illicit drugs on the premise or alcohol for the alcoholic, as an example. So they need to be free of some of those addictions. They need to deal with them first. So our answer to women in that situation is let's help you deal with the addiction so that you can deal with the abuse. The truth is they won't be able to deal with the abuse until they deal with some of the addictions that they're using to bury the pain. So there's some qualifications around that are more the clinical side, but at a high level, hopefully that answers your question. Anyway, any other questions? I'm happy to not answer or try to answer.
How long do they stay?
4 days, 3 nights.
Thursday to Sunday.
Monday to Thursday.
Oh.
If they're
Unified on the weekend.
Oh, unified on the weekend, that's what it is.
what was the question?
If they're, across the country,
They need to be English speaking because that's
That's the only requirement right now.
that like.
They have to get themselves there.
No, they have to get themselves there.
No, yeah, they have to get that. And there will be some scholarships.
I was gonna say, is there ever,
Based on their financial
do
circumstances.
you ever plan on having it be like a therapy where that insurance would cover for them? Or is it
No, we won't work with insurance. The reason being, we're not charging for the actual retreat itself.
So
The
it's
part
not
that
really
the
the
insurance
cost.
would cover. It's zero cost to the participant. Their only cost is the travel to get to the Salt Lake area. We'll take it from there.
We need them to have a commitment too, because the spots will be valuable.
Yeah.
We don't want anybody missing their opportunity to be there and preventing somebody else from going.
The choice to have them pay for their travel is not a financially driven choice.
How
Makes
often
sense.
are they doing it?
Sorry, I didn't.
How often?
So during this first year, they'll be pretty spotty, about 1 a month, until we are sure that our curriculum's exactly how we want it. The thing is, when this is the thing about this is, it's not, you can't test this on people, right? I mean, we can mess up the bus, we can mess up the food, right? We cannot mess with people's lives. And so we're taking it slow this first year, about one a month. That gives us time in between to make tweaks or adjustments that we feel are important based on the feedback we get through the first retreats.
And then what's your goal? Is it like every week after that?
Probably three weeks out of the month. So let me give you the big goal, right? The big vision. My hope is a couple of things. My hope is that funding is strong enough that we will be able to expand to many facilities across the country and perhaps internationally. International is a little bit more of a challenge because the regulations are varied so much by country, but we can work through that. But in the near term, we'll work with 8 to 10 people per week. When our facility's built, we're no longer renting a facility. Our goal is to handle 3 groups simultaneously, so 24 people per facility per week with 3 retreats per month.
You always look within the Younique family first.
For applicants?
We always accept Younique family applicants first.
So officially the answer to that is no, because if we'll look within the Younique family first for our applicants. The answer to that question is no, and I'm saying that because we can't discriminate. However, we know that you are an awesome army, and we are certainly going to call upon you to help us spread the word. So do I expect that we have a significant number from the Younique family? Absolutely.
Can you say like what would the week entail, the days there entail, like what type of counseling goes on?
Want
And
to talk about that?
Yeah, if I can remember.
I would love to hear.
So we'll pick them up Monday afternoon from the bus depot or the airport that they come into.
Can you speak
Oh, I'm
up?
sorry.
Just gotta speak up.
We're gonna pick them up Monday afternoon, have the intake process, not a very heavy day that day. Tuesday and Wednesday will be the same agenda. It will start with continental breakfast. It will include exercise. It will include group sessions, education. Both the days are going to be the same. Even the menu is going to be conducive to healing, and we're trying to be very. Oh boy, there I go. We're trying to be mindful of how to maximize 4 days and do the best we can in making a difference. And we feel like the education is going to be really essential so they can go home and break cycles. Because when you teach a woman something, you teach a generation. So I know we can make a difference by teaching you to teach others. And then on the last day, we'll have a celebration, a graduation, if you will, and we'll take them back to the airport or the bus depot where they can go home and continue their healing if they need it. And we're just going to do the best we can, and we could not do it without you. So thank
Yeah,
you.
definitely.
Wonderful.
So let me share a quick why behind what Shalane just shared. So one of the most common challenges that a survivor of sexual abuse faces is one of the ways that they cope with the abuse as a child is they disconnect from their physical body. That's how they cope with it or deal with what's happening to them, the trauma. Sexual abuse is a trauma which is different than other types of challenges that involve mental health. So there's a physical component to it. So when she talks about doing exercise, that's not just for fun, right? The exercise is designed to help them reconnect with their physical body, right? To come back in touch with their physical body. Because survivors often describe anytime they face a trigger or a reminder of the abuse, almost like a separation from their physical body, because that's what their body's been trained to do, or how to cope with it. So when she talks about physical things, when she talks about education, all these are critical to make it even possible for them to experience therapy with a counselor. There are predecessors that have to happen for counseling to be effective. And that's going to be our focus. And that doesn't mean it won't help somebody that's already in counseling. It certainly will. But that individual that's dealing with it for the first time, it's all about helping her get in a place that she can open up this poison, extract it out, and then close that wound.
Do you provide
Sounds
them with
wonderful.
like the where to go direction from there, or like facilities that they can go to?
Yeah, we'll have as part of their outtake process or their post-retreat guidance, we'll provide resources, we'll provide guidance. We may even choose to provide some of those resources remotely, we'll see. But at a minimum, we'll certainly direct them to their local resources to get the appropriate type of help. The last thing they'll do before they leave with our clinical team is put a plan together. What do I do next? Right? And we'll support them in that plan. They're going to have to make the choice, and it's a hard choice, right? But we'll do everything we can to empower them while they're there, to uplift them, to validate them. It brings whole new meaning to those three words, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with them connecting with each other, it's like unified. They go back and they have these people to connect with
Yes.
forever that they probably haven't connected with before.
Absolutely.
So that's
Do you
amazing.
anticipate if you get serious
You know?
cases that somebody would have to come back or be able to come back for another 4-day stay?
Possibly, absolutely.
You will allow that?
Yep.
I think it's just phenomenal.
I don't really ask questions, but is there a follow-through process that you implement? I wonder what, you come, you train, you start the healing process, is there a follow-up?
So as part of the program, we provide a manual that is actually a system that they can use to help them with healing. It's something that's it's intended for them to take with them. In terms of the follow-up, it really depends on the individual. Some are ready for therapy as they leave, and we're going to do everything we can to connect them with a qualified therapist that we trust, that hopefully they can learn to trust. Ultimately, they're going to have to make that choice, right? Which is the hard part. You get back into the rigors of life, and sometimes you let things distract you. You go back to your regular coping mechanisms. But we will do all we can to support them in getting the right resources. But like anything therapeutic, at the end of the day, they're going to have to make a decision to act on what they've been given at the retreat.
I just wonder if you were going to follow those first few people that come through.
We absolutely will follow up with them.
I think there's the connection
Especially the
that they have with others, and when they leave, they have that connection.
Yeah.
I think that's
Oh, yeah,
the
they'll be
biggest
bond.
part of it,
They'll be
is that
sisters.
connection that they
I
have.
love these questions. Any others?
Thank you for.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say, Shalane already said it, but just for me personally, right? Thank you. Ladies, the fact that I am here, not 3 years from now, not 5 years from now, but 2 and a bit into this company is because of what you have done, right? You're way early in the plan.
That's awesome.
Because of what you've done, and I can't tell you thank you enough. You know, I live and breathe to make sure that Shalane's vision happens.
His wife has validated that.
Yes.
She does his job.
I do love my job. I'll quickly introduce my sweetheart because she's awesome. That's Christine. Thank you.
That's right.